This video is a recording from the MenProvement Podcast, brought to you by MenProvement.com, the #1 self-improvement resource strictly for men. Go there today to see all podcasts, improve yourself as a man, and get access to 3 free ebooks, including one that will help you triple your testosterone naturally. Thank you and enjoy.
Ready to take your life to the next level? Then you're in the right place. Get all the information you need to be better, improve everything, and live life like a pro. This is the MenProvement Podcast with Sean Russell.
Welcome back to the MenProvement Podcast, brought to you by MenProvement.com, the #1 self-improvement resource strictly for men. Head there after the show to get your free self-improvement starter kit, including your free ebook on how to triple your testosterone naturally. Today's show is absolutely epic. Throughout this podcast, I have gone out of my way to get a lot of women on the show because I think they offer a better point of view to learn from about sex and dating. And today I have Marni Kinrys on the show from WingGirlMethod.com. For decades, Marni has been teaching men of all ages to essentially go from the typical nice guy that most guys are to the guy that every woman wants. During the show, you're going to learn what women really find attractive, and you're going to learn applicable steps that you can start taking today to become this kind of guy that women fight over and drool over. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with looks or money. And I just want to say, based on all the amazing feedback I've been getting from listeners and you guys, I am going to be ramping up production of this podcast in 2015 with more episodes, bigger guests, and listener requests. So if you have a request, hit me up at sean@menprovement.com and let me know what or who you want on the show, and I'll make it happen. But before we jump into it today, I just want to say thank you to our sponsors, ownonly.com. If you haven't already used ownonly.com and you are still wearing those baggy, ill-fitting suits to work and to special occasions, I encourage you to check them out and get a custom-fitted suit for only $300. While you'll learn in this episode that looks don't matter, the way you present yourself certainly does matter, and ownonly.com will help you look your best without breaking the bank. And it will allow you to get custom-fitted clothing without ever leaving the house. You know, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to do this now. It's incredible. So check them out at ownonly.com and use the checkout code MPSUIT to get $30 off your order. That's OWNONLY.com. But without further ado, let's jump into today's show. How to go from Mr. Nice Guy to Mr. Holy Shit, I Want Him with Marni Kinrys. Hey guys, I'm here with Winggirl Marni from WingGirlMethod.com to get some bullshit-free advice from a female's point of view on meeting and attracting women. What's up, Marni? Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you on here. I love getting inside the mind of women because I think it's the best way to get better with women. We had, I'm sure you know, Kezia.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had her on here a few months ago, and people love that episode. So I'm really excited to have you here. To start off, in a vague sense, everyone who teaches this stuff has their own philosophy per se. What is the philosophy of the Winggirl method?
The philosophy of the Winggirl method is that if you ask for what you want, you have a better chance of getting it.
Okay, so you think that most guys probably live their life and they never really ask for what they truly want when it comes to women?
Yeah. I think that's what happens to a lot of nice guys. I think that's why a lot of guys become labeled as creeps. I think a lot of guys hide their intentions or are unclear on how to convey their intentions without detracting or de-attracting women. So instead of putting what they really want out there, they cover it up, or they don't say it, or they don't even take a chance and go for it. So therefore, they're not acting as real men, because real men go after what they want.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And that goes well beyond just meeting women. That's like an incredible philosophy for life in general. And that's what we're all about here, is helping men be better versions of themselves. So to hear you say that is absolutely incredible. I found that a lot of
Good.
a lot of stuff when it comes to meeting women with some of my favorite people, it doesn't just make you better at meeting women. It makes you better as a person in general, and it echoes through every area of your life.
Yeah, for sure. And that the thing is that sometimes disappoints people because they're like, no, but I just want to get this thing solved, not realizing that in order to get whatever that certain thing is that you want, there are other areas that need to be worked on so that it can hold you up. It's like anything that you build, right? We did a reality show at my house this past week, but it was a backyard construction show for the DIY network. And it really taught me about how important a base is, right? So if you don't have that base to hold on to what you're going to put on top of it, then everything you just keep layering on top of it is going to crumble and fall, and it won't be able to stay strong. So to actually create that strong base, that's where true success comes from, because then you can build on top of that base and it'll be sturdy and be able to hold whatever you put on top of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And that's why oftentimes things that take so much longer to develop, like not just learning a couple pickup lines and a few gimmicks to get girls, really diving into the core of yourself and taking years to become like a better man will help you reach levels that you could never reach just learning a couple pickup lines.
Absolutely. And that's the only way to really just be yourself. Like, because you know how annoying that sentence is. Like, oh, I want a guy who's just himself, or just be yourself and you'll get the girls that you want. But just be yourself doesn't really have an explanation behind it, but just being yourself is getting rid of all of that. I don't know if I can swear on this, but that layer of fluff that's on top of everything that you do. So getting rid of the insecurities, getting rid of the self-doubt, getting rid of the limiting beliefs, getting rid of bad habits that you've been doing in the past, getting rid of eagerness and needy behavior. The just being yourself is clearing away all of that fluff so that you can actually just project who you are in a calm, comfortable, confident manner. And that's what attracts women. And that's what attracts other people into your life as well, for amazing possibilities.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's like going the absolute longest way, but it's like you said, it's a strong base, and I totally agree with you. I love that. So I love how you say in your site, like you help men go from Mr. Nice Guy to Mr. Holy shit, I want him. And
yeah.
So
I can swear on this show. Okay, cool. Yes, absolutely.
Away,
yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I do.
So would you
sorry, go on.
No, sorry. Would you say that like that guy that we were just talking about is Mr. Holy Shit, I Want Him? Because I was going to ask you, like, who is that guy? Like, what do women find sexy and irresistible?
Yeah, oh, exactly. The Mr. Holy Shit, I Want Him is the sexy leader who's comfortable with who he is, can laugh at himself, is very confident in asking for what he wants in a clear and direct manner without overt self-doubt. Like, women are very attracted to status, and status doesn't mean the most strength in the room, abs of steel, millions and millions of dollars. Status means like place in life, the ability to absorb and collect resources, right? So intelligence is part of status. Social circle is part of status. Desire and passion is part of status. Confidence is part of status. The ability to have integrity is part of status. And sometimes, financials do come into it. But again, it doesn't mean me being a millionaire. It means being able to support yourself and to be proud and happy with what you're doing. So, and I know that all of this seems like an ideal version of a man, and this idea of perfection that women are looking for, spitting out for guys to be. And I'm not saying that men can't have moments of lack of confidence or vulnerability or not having everything together in their lives. What we're really looking for is a man that can identify when things maybe are not going the right way, have a pity party for himself, and then get back onto his feet. Men, for example, who are negative or who are down on themselves for really long periods of time and are not able to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Those are men that are not attractive to women, because there's no benefit to being with a man like that. That those men cannot get women closer to those resources. And at that time, don't have any status in their eyes because they don't respect themselves and don't really value themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And going back to like the finance part, finance is often part of that man's life who lives that kind of life and is that kind of man just naturally. They're not buying fancy cars to impress women, but they just have fancy cars because of who they are, and it's not like they're trying to do it to make a statement. And that's even more powerful, that subtlety. So
exactly.
I want to ask you two questions, because me personally, this is like, you're describing like the person that I strive to be every day. And I think the only way to get there is to commit to like a lifelong journey of self-improvement and, you know, self-idealization. So you've coached hundreds of men, right? Like from ages,
thousands.
Thousands. Yeah, I meant to say that. From I know I heard you on a show the other day saying that you have clients who are in their 70s, right?
Yeah, I had one guy that I worked with who was 85, and I fell in love with him mainly because, like, I'll take a step back to what you just said a moment ago, that you strive to be a better man, and that's really the essence of it. It is striving to be great, and you know, not settling for what you have. And I think that's what really differentiates between a man of quality and a man women want to be with, and a man that women are kind of disappointed in and are creeped out in and are not attracted to. So, you know, the striving for is what really attracts us. And the desire for knowledge and improvement is always super sexy. On the flip side of that, a guy who is always trying to achieve more and is laser focused on that can also be quite unattractive, because then he's never satisfied with what he has. So there's a fine balance between the two. But the guys that I work with, I think are some of the best men in the entire world, because they're men who do want to do some work, who see something that's not working in themselves, and they want to find out how to improve it, how to make it better, what to do, as opposed to just settling. And therefore, I think that all the men I work with have an amazing base to start with, because they have that desire and that thirst for knowledge. The 75 and 80-year-old, you know, men that I work with, I love the fact that they are near the end of their lives and they're like, no, I still want to work on something. There's still something that I can do better. And I don't want to, you know, die knowing that I didn't understand this or I didn't work on this. And that I freaking love.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's going to be me when I'm 85 years old, hopefully.
Right.
But
and all of this comes from the fact that, you know, I'm in a very similar place to all of the guys that I work with. I always want to be learning, and I always want to be empathetic towards others. And I'm not spouting perfection for myself. I don't do everything perfectly. And my husband doesn't do everything perfectly, but together we work on things. And that, I think, is absolutely amazing, and the most that you can ask from any human being. I may snap in an instant and do something wrong or hurtful to another person, but I feel like I'm always able to go back and correct that mistake, or at least acknowledge where I have made an error. And many people do not. They push forward in life just assuming they're not doing anything wrong and they're not hurting people. And I think, again, those things are the things that define truly great people and truly great men.
Yeah. So yeah, I've always said that when people ask me, like, you know, how to become, like, what's attractive, what's this, I've always say, based on what I've learned in the past 3 years studying like different forms of pickup, as you would call it, is that the most attractive thing is to be someone who knows what their purpose is in life and who's following their purpose and not seeking validation from the outside world or anyone else, and pulls all their joy and happiness and fun from within themselves, and is kind of like, you know, the light of the party. And it sounds exactly what you're talking about, which is awesome to hear. So I think we can have an awesome conversation about how to go about this. So jumping back to what I was going to ask you, based on, you know, the big range of your clients, was, can anybody take this leap and achieve success? Because I know there's probably a lot of people listening that think like, or I'm too fat, I'm too this, I'm too shy or introverted. Like, you've probably seen it all. And like, I would love to hear some of your success stories.
Yeah, well, I will say that there is nobody that comes to me that I'm like, yeah, you're a lost cause completely.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain times where I'll say there's other work that you need to do first before working with me. Like, if an addict comes to me or somebody who suffers from major depression, those are things that are not my area of expertise, and I'm not equipped to advise on. Or help people see through those things in their life. That's a totally different area. But once those people work on themselves in those realms, they can certainly work with me and get the success that they're looking for. So, you know, I don't want to paint a picture that it's again, I always try and give the advice that is as realistic as possible, because I know that when I'm talking to somebody else who's gone through the process, and I've gone through a process too, it seems like it all happens really instantly. And for people who are listening, they're like, okay, of course it's easy for that person to do it because of X, Y, and Z. Or, oh, okay, you're making it sound so easy, but it's not so easy. It's really hard for me. For me, I am my biggest success, I will say. And yes, I've worked with hundreds of thousands of men, and every single one of them, you know, has an amazing success story. I get tons of emails every single day saying I've changed their lives. They understand women now. They're having the success with women they've always wanted. But for me, I come from a background of I was extremely shy, extremely anxious. I doubted myself in everything that I did when I was younger. I used to be extremely intimidated of women, especially pretty popular women. I thought they were better than me. I put them on a pedestal. I was never the me that I wanted to be when I was around them. And I had a stroke when I was 20 years old because of all of this pressure that I was putting on myself to be perfect, and all of the doubt that was going on in my mind surrounding my interactions with women and with men and with people. So when I recovered from that stroke, I promised myself that I was going to be that person that I saw inside of my head, the person that wasn't coming out and that other people were not seeing. So I started on my own path to understand women, to understand myself, to understand psychology and body language and what does attract people and why are some people popular and why are some people powerful. And that's where a lot of my information comes from, because I've gone through the process, and then I pass it on to other people. And then I mix it in with the fact that I've interviewed close to 4,000 women over the past decade. All of that information is what I relay to the guys that I work with to help them gain the same success I've achieved over the past decade.
Yeah, wow. I mean, I didn't know that. It's an incredible story, and congratulations on how far you've come. I mean, I have a similar backstory where I came from a place of anxiety and real hardship, and I just decided to spend years to get to where I am now, and I'm just trying to continue, you know, and so it's awesome to hear that. But
I love that.
What I was going to ask you is, when someone comes to you and they are ready, like they're not dealing with, you know, clinical depression or anything that is outside of your realm, what's one of the first things or some of the steps that you have them do to become this guy?
Well, there's two first steps, because a lot of it is like mixed negative beliefs about the kind of girls that they can get or the girls that they can approach. So the first couple of things that we do are giving them the exercise of approaching 10 people every single day. Because I think if you have a problem approaching a super hot woman who you want to stick your penis inside, you're going to have a lot of trouble. You're going to have a lot of trouble approaching her if you also cannot approach a 75-year-old man sitting on a park bench without feeling the same type of anxiety. So I work on teaching guys how to approach 10 people a day and literally just start off by saying hi. And the point of this exercise is to get them out there and get guys to open their eyes and see that there's people around them at all times to interact with. And that once they get over that first hurdle of saying hi and making eye contact and realizing that's not that big a deal, they can go on to the following steps. And there's multiple steps in that process to get them to the place where they can go up to a woman, be super charismatic, and have an awesome conversation. The other first step is helping guys understand why they're freaking amazing, why they're awesome, and why they have immense value compared to the women that they are approaching. So like a lot of guys look at a hot girl and they're like, oh my God, she's so hot. She's either better than me or she's not going to want to talk to me. She has a boyfriend. All these excuses that get created in their mind, which are just excuses because they're afraid of rejection. They don't want to fall flat on their face. They don't want to come across as creepy, whatever it is. It's mainly because they see this person who's pretty and that immediately deflates them because they don't have a strong self-perception and idea of their own self-worth. So by identifying 10 incredible things about them, it can help them build up their attitude towards themselves so that they say, okay, I've got 10 great things and she's hot. Let's see if she has 9 other great things so that we can be on the same page. It's really helping guys understand their value. Like a lot of guys that I work with, I'll say that to them, like, can you tell me 10 awesome things about yourself? And they have trouble at first even listing 3 because they don't want to sound arrogant or they don't want to be egotistical. And I tell them that it's okay to be proud of who you are. You have to own who you are as a man, and as a man who wants to attract women. If you don't own who you are and you're not proud of who you are, you're never going to attract anybody. Because if you have a low idea of your own self-worth and you approach a hot girl, she's going to feel whatever you feel about yourself. So if you can't do your own PR where you're like, I'm freaking amazing and you should be happy to be with me. If you can't do that for yourself, no woman is going to be able to peel back those uncomfortable, insecure layers that you're putting on top of yourself and say, oh yeah, now I can see it. Now deep down inside, I can see that you're an awesome person. Nobody's going to take that time to put into you.
Yeah. I mean,
so helping guys sorry. I know. I
you
rambled.
go. I don't know.
So
No,
please interrupt me.
No, I was gonna say.
I was gonna say.
I was gonna say. Yeah, I love it because I went through the approaching 10 people a day thing. You know, I had to. This was probably 6 to 8 months ago. I was terrible with girls, like horrible, and I was always okay growing up through college and everything because I was one of the cool kids and I was on the soccer team, so I never had to make an effort. But as soon as I lost like my social status, I had nothing. So I went through that pain of having to start from literally the bottom, and I struggled to say hello to pretty girls, and I've come so far. But yeah, I couldn't have done it without actually going out and doing approaches because no matter how much you work on yourself, unless you're actually going out there and approaching women and approaching people, it's never going to all come together. So I love step one's mandatory, obviously.
Yeah. And you can't read books and then expect, through osmosis to be a superstar. You have to go fall flat on your face. I have an exercise that I give to guys called go out and get rejected and have a freaking amazing time with it so that you can start laughing in the face of rejection because it's funny. Rejection is funny and it's not about you. It's about the other person. And if you can learn to be like, okay, that rejection wasn't so bad, but still move forward and try again and tweak it the next time and say, you know what, maybe I didn't do that the right way, or maybe I didn't give myself completely in that interaction or whatever it is. And you can tweak it and perfect it and then learn from it. Mm-hmm. That's what makes people great. Like think about, tennis players. They don't just pick up a racket and suddenly they're Andre Agassi and a superstar on the tennis courts. I don't know why I went back to Andre Agassi, but that's who I went to. But they have to actually put the work in to do it. And this is a skill set, being good with people and being good with women is a skill set that if you're not a natural at it, you're going to have to do some work. And it's an easy skill set to acquire once you start practicing, but you have to actually put yourself out there to do those first few steps, fumble, fall, fail, and then get back up on your feet. That's what makes somebody great, because then you're armed with all of those experiences where you can even share stories with other people. You can use that as conversation with women. Like, yeah, you know what I'm doing right now? I have a goal to approach X number of people every single day. And this is what happened yesterday. And check out this story about this girl when I approached her. Here's what she did. Like if you use that as ammo and fuel for sharing and having conversation later, and you own what it is that you've done, then that can make you super interesting.
Yeah. Owning it is huge because I know when I first started, it was kind of like if someone asked me about it, I would, kind of shy away from it. And if someone senses that you're not owning it, they're going to ridicule you for it. But if you own it, no one's going to say shit to you. Like, yeah, I'm going out here, I'm approaching random girls because I'm going to get really good with women. No, and like, just look them dead in the eye and no one's going to say shit like negative about that.
But that's passion. That's like drive. Those things are sexy to women. And that says a lot about you. And if you're owning it as well and proud of it, that's even better. Like, same thing goes for anything that you do in your life. So being exciting and interesting doesn't mean that you have to be like a skydiving every single weekend. It means that you have to be interested in yourself and you have to be interested in the things that other people are doing and own it. So for example, if you like video games, be happy about it. Be proud of it that you like video games. But then also, to expand on video games, be interested in the girls that you're talking to and finding out what they're also passionate about. Maybe they don't have passions and maybe that's a turnoff for you. The fact that you're so passionate about video games or engineering or accounting, whatever it is. If these women don't have passions, that can be a red flag for you where you're like, you're not on the same level as me. I have strong passions. Like, what are you going to bring to the table? So if you can come at it from that place of, these are the awesome things about me, and then I want to hear the awesome things about you, and then we can decide together if it's something that, we can combine together, or there's a connection between the two of us, or because of our passions, we're totally turned on by each other and we can act on that impulse. Like, that's what you have to put out there. But every time that you doubt yourself, every time that you think that you're going to get rejected so you don't approach, like, those are the things that label you as creepy. And those are the things that don't get you the things that you want.
Yeah. And, it's beautiful. And step 2, I can relate to as well, because I learned a lot of stuff that I do from the guys over at RSD. And one of the biggest mindsets that I had to try to adopt was, to walk up to every girl like I have a check for $10,000 in my back pocket with their name on it, like I have so much value to offer them. Instead of going up like, oh, I hope she likes me, you're the buyer, you're not the seller. When you go to Best Buy to buy a TV, it's okay to approach the TV and the salesman and ask about the TV. You're still the buyer. You're
in charge.
Yeah, you're not.
You get to choose who you let into your life. You're not looking at women and saying, pick me, pick me, pick me, because you have options. You can sit back and say, yeah, do I like you? And I'm not telling guys to be, arrogant with what I'm saying. It's not that type of attitude of like, yeah, you're not good enough for me. Like, your haircut is horrible, or your toenails are too long, or to pick on negative things for them. But it's really to start highlighting the positives in you and be proud of who you are and be more selective with who you allow into your life. Like, a lot of the guys that I work let crappy women into their lives, and they let women do horrible things to them, and then they still try and please them. And there's no room for that, because the guys that I work with are unbelievable, and they should never allow somebody to treat them horribly. And I help them learn how to have more respect for themselves, and then not get themselves into situations where people can treat them that way. And a lot of the women that they're interacting with are not horrible women, but these men are showing women how to treat them. And for women, it becomes really frustrating. And this is going to sound super horrible about women, but it is true. And it's not a negative thing, I don't think. But when they're around men who don't value themselves, and that man is showing a woman like, you can walk all over me, it frustrates and angers women. And then they end up walking all over you because it's frustrated and angered them. It's a weird dynamic. I've seen lots of women do it. I do it to men as well, and I've done it a lot in the past. And it's not meant to be manipulative. It's not meant to be dismissive. It's not meant to be hurtful. But when there is a man who bends over backwards for you, he will do anything for you. And I know that sounds like so sweet, but it's done in this like complacent, needy, non-caring way. It makes it easy to treat that person with little respect because they're not respecting themselves, and you sort of start to follow suit. And again, it's not a pretty thing that we do, but it is something that we do. So the more that you can respect yourself and and state that you want that respect from women, the more respect we'll actually give you, and the more we'll find you attractive and see you as attractive.
Yeah, and what you described is pretty much the friend zone guy, you know? The guy who'll do anything for her and doesn't value himself enough that she, you know, those are the guys who get popped in the friend zone. So I guess the easiest way to not get in the friend zone is to be this guy that we've been talking about in this show. So
exactly.
To add on to step 2, because I know you said that you have guys write 10 things that is awesome about them, which is great. But I know from personal experience that it can take a while to really, you know, really embed this mind frame inside of you, especially someone who's insecure about themselves. So how long do you think it takes typically people to really be able to adopt this mindset with straight approaching? And what else do you have them do? Is there anything else you have them do?
Oh, I have a ton of things that I have them do, but it takes 3 months to create a habit. So I think that if a guy gives himself 3 months to really work on these things, and I have a whole system and a whole method, and that's just the first part of it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I would say it takes 3 months to actually make a habit out of doing something. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of exercises on top of those things that men can do. But if they really dedicate themselves for 3 months to learning and acquiring this skill set and perfecting it, they can definitely have it handled by 3 months.
Yeah. And I know you have so much stuff at wingirlmethod.com, but just me personally, with my experience, it was approaching women and then kind of just dedicating myself to a life of self-improvement, like being the best version of myself I could be and self-educating about improving myself. And that alone, without any true exercises, has been a game changer for me. So if anyone's looking for something that they can go out and start doing today, just head to your website, MenProvement.com, and just start improving yourself in general while approaching women and learning more about this stuff. And it all starts to come together. And I think 3 months is a fair time frame, because I'd say that was probably when it got really comfortable for me. Now, do you have like 5 to 10 minutes for like applicable bar scenario questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I know we're hitting the half an hour mark right now.
Yeah.
But I'll try to be fast. All right, yeah. So this stuff is awesome, and I live my life by it. But I still find I've gotten really good with day game, because that's kind of what I use to get over all my anxieties and insecurities and get good at this stuff. But I find that it doesn't translate 100% in the bar scene, because there's a lot more competition and girls are kind of, on guard, and it's different. I walk up to a girl during the day and I'm like, hey, I just saw you and I find you extremely attractive. I wanted to come over and say hello. And it usually, it works when you get confident. But in a bar, I do that too. But I feel like, what's the way that as a girl you hate to get approached in a bar, I guess is what I'm asking. And what way works? Like, what do you teach people?
I kind of hate guys who pretend that they're not hitting on you, or guys who want you to continue the rest of the conversation after they've made the approach, where they're like, hey, and they say whatever you were saying, and then they have nothing else after that. And then they make you do the work for the conversation that they started, even though they wanted to approach. What I really like in approaches and when a guy is just out to have fun. Like when I'm at a bar, I'm out to have fun. So anybody that's going to add to my evening or build on the possibilities for what can happen in that night is a guy that I want to be a part of. So if a guy approaches me and then, we're at the bar standing there and it's like we're a tag team. He either pulls me in or he gets close to me beside me and he looks over the people at the end of the bar and he goes, what do you think is happening over there? Are they on their first date? Are they on their second date? Or he makes some sort of other game, like looking at people in the bar and say, when was the last time you think that person had sex? They look really, really tense and like they're constipated. Like things like that are playful and fun, where it ends up being us against them, I think are super fun things. Like I even like when guys are goofy dancers on the dance floor and not caring.
Yeah.
all, but I hate when a guy comes up and grinds up against me and doesn't see that I'm getting tense and uncomfortable. And he still continues to do it. I don't like when a guy tries to have a full deep conversation with me in a really loud place or on a dance floor. Like I was on the dance floor once and one guy was like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like, good. And then he's like, "So, what do you do for a living?" And I was like, seriously? Like I'm dancing right now. I don't want to have a conversation where I can't hear you at all. Like if anything, you can dance a little bit with me on the dance floor and then you can signal for me to come off the dance floor and then you can fire some questions at me where you're saying like, you have amazing moves. Your body is super sexy. Like, tell me, who are you? Where then you can fire some questions and I can actually hear you. But on the dance floor, I don't want to be, going into interview mode. I want to be having fun and dancing and enjoying my girlfriends or enjoying you on the dance floor.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the dance floor because I see this now. Now I notice these things. I see a lot of guys, there's girls dancing to the right of them and they're standing there with their drinks at their chest and they're kind of just staring at them for about 20 minutes, one thinking about doing it. Then they go in, say something really robotic and it never works. And it's...
No, it never works.
So,
the guys that I was always really attracted to when I was out at a bar were guys who were really just there having fun with themselves. And then they would look over at me, maybe like wink or wave or make a funny face and then go back to their friends. Like those were the ones that got me, that made me feel butterflies in my stomach, that made me excited because they weren't leaping on me. But, and the other ones that I love were the ones who were there to have fun and wanted to pull me in on the fun. Like this one game that I love that this guy did. He came up to me and he said, "Okay, what's your name?" And I said, "My name is Marni." He's like, "Fuck, I lost." And he goes back up to his friends and he starts talking. And I was like, what? Like I went up to them saying like, what? Well, how did my name make you lose? And he's like, "Okay, well, we're playing this game. Like this friend has letters A through whatever in the alphabet. I have this letter and this letter." And that person chose M and said that he pointed at me saying her name for sure starts with like the letters between, I forget what the, what it was, but he's like, he won because he knew that your name fell into his category. And I thought that was really fun and playful. And then I wanted to play the game too. And then we started doing other dares with each other. And by the end of the night, I ended up making out with the guy. Like I want to add on to my fun experience. And guys who I can tell are lurking around me and delaying approaching me are not guys that are adding to my night. They're guys who are freaking me out and creeping me out for the night.
Yeah, lurking is the perfect word because for a lot of guys like myself, bars are tough. And I think, like I asked, what should you say? It really doesn't matter. But if you find yourself standing there lurking, thinking about what to say, thinking about going in, then I think you've already lost at that point. And I love
absolutely.
the advice. I love the advice of just have fun and be the fun, the source of fun, not trying to find fun from other people. And that's how you're going to succeed. That's hard. It takes time. Do you have any tips for guys like who are really socially introverted to get there?
Well, introverted doesn't mean shy. So that's the first thing that those guys should know. Introverted has to do, it's a personality trait, right? So do with, in my mind, the way that you recharge or the way that you sort of seek refuge. You feel best when you are alone, and that's when you feel the most energized. Sometimes really social settings can drain you because you are an introvert. It doesn't mean that you're shy. Introverts can also be extremely outgoing and friendly people. My husband is an introvert, and he's also extremely social. But he knows that for himself, when he has a really social evening, he needs to also seek refuge after that social evening and recharge for himself. So he needs to spend time by himself afterwards. So he'll go for a walk on the beach, or he'll have an hour where he's reading with himself. Or even if he's out for an evening and it just becomes too much for him, he'll go for a walk around the block so that he can be by himself and process. And then he comes back to a social setting. So again, being an introvert does not mean that you're shy. Shy is something that you can actually change about yourself. It's a way that that you have labeled yourself. It's not something that's embedded in who you are. So in order to get over your shyness, you have to take a small risk every single day to put yourself out. And if you can do that, you can start to have evidence that shows you that times when you act non-shy, you have positive responses. For me, I was and still am inside a very shy person, but I have a stronger urge inside me now that says, okay, if I don't do this, then I'm going to be mad at myself. If I don't do this, then I'm not going to get what I want. If I don't do this, X, Y, and Z. So that urge now overpowers the urge to be shy.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you really opened my eyes with that whole explanation of the introvert, because I think I'm very much like your husband. I'm an introvert myself, and I've been finding, while I'm very social, I find myself absolutely exhausted after a night out, like socializing, even when I'm not drinking. And I've been wondering why that
draining.
is.
It's so draining.
I've been wondering myself, like, why am I so tired? I feel hungover.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a drink and I slept 8 hours. Like, it's crazy, but I know I'm an introvert, and I'm definitely my most energized when I'm by myself, brainstorming, doing what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm also social. But that's really eye-opening that you just said that. It's interesting. I'm definitely gonna look into that more. And that's an awesome tip about the shyness. And I like how I want to just point out how you said every day, do something to expand your comfort zone, your shyness every single day, because it's like little steps, right? Baby steps every day, and you'll keep expanding and giving yourself more evidence that it's okay to kind of let go and be
like
yourself.
For me, for example, I'll end it on this note. So for me, I wanted to experiment with my body language, because I know that a lot of times my body can be saying something about me that maybe my head isn't agreeing with, or maybe it's what really is subconsciously going on, even though I may be saying, oh, I'm really confident right now. My body can be telling people a whole other story. And 85% of communication is done with your body language, voice tonality, facial gestures. 15% is only done with your words. So most people, especially women, only pay attention to the 85% because that's what they can pick up on. So what I used to do, and what I had done in the past, was I wanted to experiment with my walk one time and just see how people responded to different walks. And I had met this woman who had this theory, and I think it's great. It was like a theory on how to quickly get confidence into your mind and body. And she used to do marketing for a lot of celebrities and like pop icons like Katy Perry and Britney Spears. So she had worked with them to help them develop their persona. And so she's transferred this over into the self-help world, where she tells people to pick an animal that they resonate with, and an animal that in their mind says confidence, like a strong animal. So she looked at me and she said, "You're a leopard." And I said, "Oh, okay. I didn't know that, but okay, sure." And she goes, "Tell me 5 strong attributes that you believe a leopard has." And I was like, "Okay, well, a leopard walks with purpose. A leopard is coy." And I listed the attributes. And then she said, "Picture a leopard walking. How would that leopard walk?" And immediately I was able to put that into my body, and I attached those attributes to the walk as well. And so that when I live across the street from Whole Foods. So when I went to Whole Foods, I wanted to try out my leopard walk, my normal Marni walk, which is walking 1 million steps a second and not paying attention to anybody. And then another walk that I just labeled as like the fun, leisurely walk. And I just circled Whole Foods and saw the different reactions that people had to me and the different things that I felt in myself when I was doing each of those walks. So when I was the leopard, I was on the prowl. I saw men look at me a different way. I looked at them a different way. I could hold eye contact for a very long period of time. When I did the Marni walk, I just looked at the floor and was like walking to the things that I needed to get. And I was on a mission. When I did the fun walk, I saw that women were more responsive to me and that I was noticing women more, and I wanted to connect with them more when I was walking. So it's really interesting to start doing these experiments for yourself, sharing them with other people, but just really overall noticing the things that are going on within your mind and your body while doing each of those things. Because if you can concentrate on those things that are for you as opposed to how you look to other people, it's going to help you keep going. Because if you constantly focus on, okay, people must think I'm a freak, you're never going to do anything. And the fact is that people are bored with their lives and they are zombies. So if you're doing something that's interesting, even though you think they're like, well, what the hell is wrong with that person? They're intrigued by you. You stand out. You're different. There's something else going on. And if you do it and you own it and you're proud of what you're doing, that is even sexier and attracts way more people and women to you.
That's awesome. And that's an awesome way to end the show. I think I would probably be a cheetah, but I'm going to try that.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I've always had a fascination with cheetahs. Yeah, it's cool. I'm definitely going to try it. But I guess this has been an amazing talk. You know, I didn't even think it was going to go this direction, but it's been really great. And where can people find you and learn more about you and what you do?
They can go to my website, winggirlmethod.com, but they can also listen to my podcast, which is the Ask Women podcast, and it's available on iTunes. It's awesome. We have celebrities on the show. We have normal people on the show. We have hot girls on the show. And it's really more of the same thing, but maybe not so much focused on the inner game. We talk a lot about, how to approach, how to talk to women, what girls are turned on by, what girls are turned off of. But it's a really, really good podcast. So the Ask Women podcast.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. It sounds awesome. Thanks so much for listening, guys. And if you enjoyed the show, make sure to subscribe using the podcast app on your phone so you don't miss an episode. And if you think this can help someone else, share this episode with a friend. And you can see all the show notes and today's links at menprovement.com/MPP020. I got a great email the other day from a listener, and he really inspired me and got me thinking about becoming the absolute best version of myself. I'm all about self-improvement, but I've been really thinking lately, am I doing everything that I can do to break out of mediocrity and average and be literally my best self? And I know that there's certain areas of my life that I wasn't doing that. So I just want to leave you with a little inspiration and sum up what hit me after re-listening to this episode. And what I really took away from this is that self-esteem and confidence doesn't come from your mind, and you can't think your way into it. But it comes from taking action. And this is a common misconception. It comes from approaching women. It comes from eating healthy. It comes from striving to be the best version of yourself in every area of your life. This is where positivity and good self-esteem comes from. If you start doing all the right things in your life and you start committing to be the best, absolute best version of yourself while enjoying it and not forcing yourself to do it, you're naturally going to develop that strong positive core, and you're going to start feeling better about you and who you are and loving life. And that's where you develop confidence. That's where you develop self-esteem. Give it a month. It's life-changing. So remember, you can't think your way to action, but by taking action, you can develop new thinking. So strive to be the best version of yourself. Be consciously aware of your shortcomings, and when you are acting average and mediocre, accept it and then work to improve it every single day. And in a year from now, you can be a completely different person. It's absolutely incredible. Think about who you would become in a year from now if you kept doing the bad habits that you did, just laying around, not being motivated, going to work, coming home, watching a movie, going to sleep. And then think about if you spent every day enjoying it to the fullest and working to improve yourself and taking baby steps every day, who you would be in a year. It doesn't have to happen fast. Do something every day to improve yourself. It's really that simple. So thanks for listening. Enjoy the new year and make 2015 your best year yet.